I never thought a chance encounter would lead to a billionaire saving my twins from hunger. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the crumbling buildings around me. I could hear the distant wail of a siren echoing through the streets. My heart raced as I looked down at my twins, Amelia and Jake. Their small, frail bodies trembled as they clutched my hands, their eyes searching mine for reassurance. I felt a lump in my throat. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, a painful reminder of our dire situation. The grocery store was a mere block away, but it felt like a mile. I needed to get there, to find anything to fill their empty stomachs. Money was tight, the kind of tight that makes your chest feel heavy and your head spin. I was just a single mother, struggling to keep my family afloat, fighting against a tide that only seemed to rise higher. My fingers brushed against the frayed edges of my shirt, a reminder of the sacrifices I'd made. People rushed past us, heads down, lost in their own worlds. I caught glimpses of their faces, some hardened by life, others softened by kindness. I spotted a woman handing out sandwiches to the homeless, her smile a lightning bolt of hope in the swirling storm around us. I clenched my jaw. Why couldn't I do something like that? But the thought slipped away as quickly as it came. My twins needed me. Then, just as I reached my breaking point, I stumbled upon him. He stood there, amidst the chaos, almost like he was glowing. A tall figure in an immaculate suit, sunglasses perched on his nose despite the fading light. I couldn't make out his expression, but there was an undeniable aura about him. Something magnetic. He turned, catching my gaze. The world seemed to pause. My heart raced even faster. Who was this man? I felt the weight of my situation crash down on me, raw and exposed as I flinched at the sudden quiet. A crowd had started to gather, whispering, their eyes flicking between the stylish stranger and me. I was confused. Was I imagining this? Then, with an unexpected grace, he took off his sunglasses. His piercing blue eyes locked onto mine, and in that instant, everything shifted. I saw compassion, intrigue, and a hint of something darker. "You look like you could use some help," he said, his voice warm but commanding. I faltered. Did I really want to accept help from a stranger? Just as I was about to respond, Jake tugged at my sleeve, his little voice barely a whisper. "Mommy, I'm so hungry!" Those simple words broke the dam inside me. Tears sprang to my eyes. I knew the pain of my children, felt it coursing through my veins like fire. But what could this man really offer? And just like that, he reached into his pocket. A crisp stack of bills appeared, which he extended towards me. My breath hitched, heart pounding. This wasn't just any offer. This was a lifeline tossed into a flood of desperation. Could he really save us? Or was this some twisted game I couldn't comprehend? My mind raced with fear and hope, locked in a battle. And before I could utter a single word, something shocking happened. A loud crash echoed, and chaos erupted. The crowd surged forward, gasping in unison. I turned to look, but before I could, the man vanished. Just like that, poof! Into thin air. Where did he go? Why did he just leave? My heart sank. The bills were still in the air, dancing slowly down, but now, they felt like a cruel reminder of what I might never have. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I stood there, frozen. The crisp bills twirled gently down, reflecting the fading light, as the crowd hushed, bewildered by the abrupt interruption to their mundane lives. It was as if time had stretched, holding me captive in a haze of disbelief. I could hardly focus on what had just transpired. Jake tugged at my sleeve again, his small voice cracking with unease. Mommy? I turned my gaze to my children, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like the world had tilted off its axis. The warmth of hope mingled with the chill of despair. It's okay, sweetheart, I murmured, stooping to gather the scattered bills on the ground. Each one felt like a weight lifted, yet the encounter left behind was still heavy in my heart. As I picked up the last bill, I felt a presence beside me, and I instinctively recoiled. It was the sandwich lady, the one I had seen earlier, her hands full of more food than she could carry. Here, let me help you, she said softly, her eyes twinkling. With a swift motion, she offered me a brown paper bag filled with sandwiches, fresh fruits, and a bottle of water. You look like you could use this more than me. Caught off guard by her kindness, I hesitated before accepting it. Thank you, but I can't. Nonsense, she interrupted, pressing the bag into my hands. No one should go hungry. I can always make more. Her sincerity wrapped around me like a comforting blanket, and I felt my throat tighten again, but this time with gratitude. My children had gone quiet, their eyes on the bag with wonder. As I opened it, a waft of fresh bread filled the air. My stomach grumbled in response, and I couldn't remember the last time I had eaten. I pulled out a sandwich and broke it in half, handing one half to each of my twins. Their eyes brightened, chubby hands reaching for the gift of nourishment with innocent joy. Thank you, I said to the woman, my voice barely above a whisper, overwhelmed by her unexpected generosity. She smiled warmly and stepped back into the crowd, looking all too familiar with the struggles that echoed through city streets. I watched as Amelia and Jake savored each bite as if it were the most sumptuous feast, their little faces lighting up with glee. For an instant, the weight of our struggles lifted. But I knew it wouldn't last long. It never did. There was the rent due next week and the gnawing terror that clawed at my chest, reminding me that even kindness had its limitations. Suddenly, the sound of a phone ringing pulled me from my thoughts. It was the private number from the last job I had applied for. My heart raced as I answered, hoping it was good news. Hello? Is this Cassidy? A professional voice asked. Yes, it is. Who's calling? Hi, Cassidy. This is Mr. Reed from Reed Investments. We received your application, and I'd like to discuss it further. My heart raced even higher. Was this my chance at stability? A glimmer in the darkness? Yes. Thank you for calling, I stammered, nerves taking hold. When would you like to meet? Can you come by tomorrow? I have a very busy schedule, and I think this position would suit you well. The words hung in the air like a lifeline, but then doubt crept in. What if I didn't measure up? What if another opportunity slipped through my fingers? Just as I was about to respond, I heard a thunderous crash nearby, a cacophony of chaos erupting once more through the streets. The unease surged back, and I instinctively grabbed Jake and Amelia, pulling them close. My mind was racing. What was happening? I glimpsed the direction of the noise, and my heart sank as the crowd began to scatter, their faces morphing from curiosity to horror. But I couldn't take my eyes off one thing: flashes of metal glimmering, impossibly familiar amidst the chaos. And then, I saw him, my stranger, the man who had disappeared. He stood at the center of the fray, hands held up, expression twisted in confusion. But something else flickered in his azure eyes, a flicker of recognition. Why is he here? I whispered to myself, bewilderment clawing at my insides as fear wrapped around me like a vice. Answering the depths of my questions would have to wait. The emergency services were pushing through the crowd, and with the chaos unfolding, I grasped my children's hands tighter, my instincts roaring to keep them safe. As we turned to leave the scene, a chill pierced the air. The encounter with this mysterious billionaire wasn't over yet, and I felt a strange pull toward him. Something was about to change, I could feel it in my bones. But would that change come with healing or heartache? The moment we ventured away from the shouts and sirens, I could feel a tension building like a storm on the horizon. The laughter of my children, once so comforting, now felt like a fragile bubble that might burst with the next tremor of reality. Mommy, what was that? Jake asked, his small hand feeling so safe in mine, yet his voice trembled with the innocence of a child thrust into a world of chaos. Just some noise, sweet pea. We should get home now, I managed, attempting to sound more confident than I felt. I glanced back over my shoulder, half expecting to see the man again, the stranger with the captivating eyes. But the crowd had swallowed him whole, leaving only the fading echoes of what had just transpired. The journey home was awash with unease. Each passing car felt like a reminder of my precarious situation. Amelia sat close to me, her tiny body lost in the folds of my coat. I could feel her rhythmic breathing calming me, anchoring me to the present even as my mind spiraled. What if this job opportunity came through? It was hard to let myself believe that something good might come along when everything felt like it was skimming the edge of disaster. As we approached our building, the familiar sight of our worn front steps brought on a wave of melancholy. They felt heavier than before, shadows creeping into the spaces where light used to gleam. I released Jake's hand for a brief moment to fish out my keys, granting my children a moment to explore their immediate surroundings. They chased each other in the small courtyard, laughter bubbling up from the depths of their innocence that I turned to lock the door when suddenly, a voice called out from somewhere in the dusk. Cassidy? My heart raced, a mixture of hope and dread filling my chest as I spun around. A young woman stepped out from the shadows of the nearby building. I recognized her from the neighborhood. Hannah! Is everything okay? She often helped gather donations at local shelters, her efforts toward those in need known throughout the community. Her face was grave, and that instantly put me on alert. I just wanted to check on you and the kids. I heard there was a disturbance earlier, she said, anxiety woven into her words. I was worried. Thank you for checking in. It was just some noise, I replied, trying to brush it off, but the truth churned in my stomach like acid. I noted the slight tremor in her hands. What did she know that I didn't? Are you sure you and the kids are all right? I brought something for you, she said, rummaging through her bag and retrieving a container of soup. It's homemade. Thought you might need a warm meal. I felt a rush of emotion wash over me. This woman barely knew me, yet her heart overflowed with kindness when I was so sure I was burdening everyone around me. Thank you, Hannah. This means more than you know, I said, my voice thick with gratitude. She smiled lightly as I took the food from her hands. I'll spread the word around for some help if you need it. You're not alone in this, you know? Her words resonated deeply in me, carrying a weight I tried to push against. But before I could respond, the distinct sound of sirens blared in the distance, jolting me from my thoughts. They grew louder, drawing closer, and I wrapped my arms around my children tighter. What now? Hannah must have sensed the tension shift. You should get inside. It might just be a routine patrol, she quickly added, but unease twitched at my spine, whispering that it wasn't just routine. Thank you again, Hannah, I said one last time, my resolve to keep my children safe firing up within me. We hurried up the stairs, aiming to escape the prying eyes that might see our struggles. The door clicked shut behind us, sealing away the world I desperately wished I could shield my children from. As I settled down on the couch, the soup warming our small kitchen filled the air with a comforting aroma, but even within the safest walls, my heart thudded with an unyielding rhythm. My phone buzzed again, this time vibrating against the wooden surface. A text flashed across the screen. It was from that private number. Can you come earlier? I need to see you now. Mr. Reed. The unsettling weight of the unknown crashed over me. It was not just a job offer anymore, it felt like a demand. My palms grew clammy, and the soup I had just heated lost its scent. What had I walked into? Clenching my jaw, I knew the answer was not just about the job, it was about the encounter that might unravel everything. With that, I turned to my children. All right, my loves, it looks like I'll be out for a little while. Mommy has to take care of something important. As I stepped out, the world beyond our door felt heavier, more uncertain than before. Victory was close yet distorted by the shadows of potential mistrust. What awaited me in that office, and would it truly be an answer, or simply a deeper complication to the already tangled web of my life? The shadows lengthened as I stepped out into the dimly lit hallway, my heart pounding against my ribcage. Each echoing footstep reverberated with the anxiety that surged within me. I glanced back at the door, half expecting to see my children peering out at me, their small faces questioning why I needed to leave. But they were safe inside, if only for a moment. The chill of the evening air hit me as I descended the stairs, its sharpness contrasting with the warmth of Hannah's soup still lingering on my skin. I wrapped my arms around myself as I walked toward the street, trying to erase the doubt creeping into my mind. What could Mr. Reed want, really? I had come to expect a straightforward job opportunity, but the more I thought about the encounter, the more questions surfaced. A brief whisper of breeze swept by, carrying the faint sound of laughter from my children drifting from our apartment window. It pulled at something deep within me, a mother's instinct stripped bare. I shook my head, cleaving myself from that momentary distraction. I couldn't afford to think of anything but this meeting. The entrance to the office building loomed ahead, its polished facade a stark reminder of the world I was stepping into. It was pristine and alien, a space where I felt incredibly out of place. I hesitated as I reached for the glass door, instinctively touching the cool metal handle. "Control yourself," I whispered under my breath, inhaling deeply, trying to quell the storm brewing inside. I pushed the door open and stepped into the reception area, where the air buzzed with a sterile formality that seemed worlds away from my chaotic home life. "Good evening. Do you have an appointment?" the receptionist asked, her voice void of warmth. "Yes, I'm here to see Mr. Reed," I replied, my voice trembling slightly. "Please take a seat. He'll be with you shortly." She returned her attention to her computer, and I sank into a plush chair, the weight of the moment resting heavily on my shoulders. Despite the decorum of the waiting area, my mind raced. Mr. Reed had built an empire, yet here I was, just a single mother drowning in her struggles. Would he even remember our brief encounter? Would he see me as someone deserving of his time, or merely a fleeting opportunity to help ease his conscience? Just then, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. A young man in a sharp suit entered the room with an air of confidence that seemed to shimmer around him. He glanced over at me and offered a polite smile. I returned it, feeling an unexplainable connection, a thread of familiarity stitching its way through the chaos. "Are you here to see Mr. Reed as well?" he asked, his gaze softening as he took the seat across from me. "Yes, I am," I replied, adjusting my posture, unsure why I felt an inexplicable sense of comfort in this stranger's presence. "I'm Mark. I'm an assistant here," he said, extending a hand, which I shook, surprised by the warmth in his grip. "I overheard your conversation in the lobby. What a brave thing you're trying to do for your children." "Yeah, I'm just hoping to make things better for them," I admitted, my vulnerability bubbling up again. "I've been struggling." Mark nodded understandingly, and for a moment, I felt seen. "I believe it," he said. "It takes strength to reach out for help, so keep pushing forward." I smiled, thankful for his kindness amidst this hardened world. Before we could delve deeper into another exchange, the polished double doors opened, and a rich voice beckoned. "Cassidy?" I stood, my breath catching as I faced Mr. Reed. He looked broader and more authoritative than I remembered, his eyes sharp and assessing, but they softened just a fraction as they landed on me. "Thank you for coming." I nodded, compelled to speak but stilled by the weight of his presence. "Please, join me in my office," he gestured, and I followed, my pulse racing. I cast a final glance back in Mark's direction, a silent acknowledgement passing between us, a brotherhood of sorts amidst uncertainty. Mr. Reed's office was striking, filled with luxury and restraint. He gestured for me to sit across from his imposing desk, and I followed suit, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, betraying no lingering confidence. "Cassidy, I appreciate you coming tonight. I won't waste your time," he began, his demeanor commanding a subtle respect. "I've given our last encounter a lot of thought." I swallowed hard, curiosity mingling with trepidation. He raised a hand, cutting me off gently. "Yes, I know it was unexpected. But the reality is, I see potential in you not only for the job we discussed but in a larger sense. You have a fire that resonates," he said, and I felt a warmth spreading through my chest despite the chilling anxiety weighing on my shoulders. "Thank you," I managed, feeling a flicker of hope in the cavernous uncertainty surrounding me. But just as I believed a path might unfold, he continued, however, before we discuss opportunities, there's a pressing matter I need to address. I need your help with something deeply personal. My heart stuttered. What do you mean? He leaned forward, his voice dropping as if we were in conversation about conspiracies and secrets. It's about my brother. He has found himself in troubling waters, and I want to protect him, but I can't do it alone. I stared, my mind racing, not how I imagined our discussion would go at all. Mr. Reed, I'm not sure I please, he insisted quietly. I wouldn't ask if I didn't think you could be of assistance. There's a lot more at stake here than just our jobs. I'm willing to help you, but you must understand I need to know I can trust you. Those words landed like thunder, and suddenly the distance I felt from him cracked open, revealing not only potential but a perilous choice that loomed ahead. Trust? But how do you know anything about me? His brow furrowed momentarily before he spoke again. I know of your struggles. I want to change that for you. I see the burden you carry, and I want to help guide both our paths. Inside my chest, hope battled against reality, my heartbeat accelerating as each moment stretched taut. Could I intertwine my mundane life with the complexities he was offering? I thought of Jake and Amelia, their innocence clinging to laughter, and suddenly the urgency felt unbearable. Just then, my phone buzzed again, shattering the tension vibrating through the air. I glanced down, seeing a missed call alert from Hannah. Before I could register what it meant, Mr. Reed leaned back, an unreadable expression crossed his face. Please take that call, Cassidy. My heart sank at the weight of the crossroads ahead of me, feeling the world curling tight around secrets I couldn't fully comprehend. I knew whatever lay at the other end of that call could change everything. And just like that, I was caught once again between help and hope, as shadows loomed ever closer. The call had been an invasion of harsh reality, echoing in my mind even as I tucked my phone away, suddenly aware of the ticking clock in Mr. Reed's office. I rushed through my explanations to Hannah about the piled-up bills and our dwindling pantry. The storm of confusion in my heart multiplied as I processed the urgency that mixed with Mr. Reed's unexpected request for help. Are you still there? Hannah's voice crackled from the other end, concern threading through her words. Yes, I need to take care of it, I murmured, my heart heavy with the weight of unfulfilled promises. I could hear my children in the background, giggling, unaware of the anxiety that twisted my stomach into knots. I'll send over some groceries tomorrow, she offered. But you need to let me know if you're okay. Please pick up your phone next time. I nodded almost habitually, wishing I could bridge the miles separating us with just one call. After ending the conversation, I inhaled deeply, looking up at Mr. Reed, whose assessment hadn't wavered since I'd walked in. I understand now, I stammered. You want me to help with your brother, but how can I do that when my own world is unraveling? If you can keep this private, I believe you could be an ally, he replied, his eyes searching mine for understanding. When I saw your determination before, it struck a chord with me. And now, with what's on your plate, I think you could do something truly remarkable for us both. My heart raced at the idea, amplifying the stakes immersed in the unknown. I thought of Jake and Amelia, their faces lighting up in my mind. Their dreams lived not only in frozen moments of joy but also in fierce searches for notions of security. It became clearer that I couldn't let them down again. But if I help you, how do I know you'll help me? I don't want to tread into deep waters without a life jacket of some kind, I said, a trace of desperation woven into my words. We help each other. I have connections, resources to provide your children with what they need. You just have to trust me, and that starts here. He motioned to the emptiness beyond the paneled walls, where the city pulsed, unaware of our quiet struggle. A flicker of hope ignited within, but uncertainty resisted its growth, as chilling reality curled around me. And what of risk? What if your brother's troubles pull me under? Mr. Reed's brows knitted together, but his demeanor softened slightly. You'll be careful, and I will watch your back. And in return, I ask for your loyalty, your steadiness in what is bound to be difficult. I exhaled, arms wrapping protectively around my waist. Somehow, his proposition sounded like a tempting lifeline amidst treacherous currents. I desperately needed a way forward that didn't reek of despair. My focus darted to the clock again, a reminder of the dwindling evening. My children needed me, yet here I was, weighing choices over an abyss. The gravity of the moment pressed heavily against me, and my throat constricted, leaving me at a dizzying height where every breath felt imbued with purpose as well as fear. With a smirk that felt both alien and familiar, I finally whispered, "Trust is earned, but I'm willing to listen." In that vulnerable exchange, his expression shifted subtly, revealing the shadows that lay hidden beneath his poised exterior. "You don't know the kind of trust I'm asking for, but you will soon enough. We will figure this out together." My heart raced, and I marveled at the inexplicable connection building. Perhaps this tug-of-war between desperation and opportunity would lead somewhere bright. Just then, the office door swung open once more. Mark stood there, a look of concern furrowing his brow. "Mr. Reed, there's been an incident. The police are involved." Mr. Reed's face hardened, and my heart sank. "What kind of incident?" "Your brother," Mark hesitated, casting me a quick glance, as if regretting my presence. "He was caught up in something larger, something we need to discuss, and quickly." My breath hitched as the tension unfurled like a dark ribbon, spiraling out of control. The incident weighed on the air, a specter that hovered just out of view, but the implication struck me. "What does this mean?" I asked, voicing the unspoken as dread settled into my chest. Mr. Reed stood, all semblances of ease stripped away. "It means we may need to accelerate our plans." "This just became urgent," he replied, eyes fierce with determination. "Can I count on you?" I looked between them, knowing now more than ever, I was standing at the cliff's edge. One step could lead me to salvation or drag me into chaos. My voice faltered, and an immense weight anchored within me as the unbreakable ties to my children glimmered faintly through the uncertainty, the shadows threatening to engulf everything. But just as I was about to reply, my phone buzzed again, an insistent vibration in my pocket, echoing against the looming decisions. I glanced down at the screen to see a new message light up, sending my heart plummeting into the depths of anxiety. It was from Hannah. "Please check on Jake. He's been acting weird since you left." Every fiber of my being screamed for clarity, the looming choices now crashing against me like wild waves. Trust was the raw blade they wanted to carve our way forward, but at what cost? With the mockery of hope flickering to life, I now stood caught between two worlds, teetering on the edge. And as the doors slowly closed behind Mark, the shadows pulled tighter around me, threatening to swallow everything whole. I forced air into my lungs, trying to quell the storm brewing inside me. The message from Hannah replayed in my mind. Jake had been acting weird. My heart ached for my son, the lonely silence of our home amplifying my worry. I had left him with so much uncertainty, so many unanswered questions. Did he understand that everything I was doing was to keep our fragile life intact? I finally forced the word out, but the weight of it was heavy and suffocating. Mr. Reed's anticipation hung in the air, taut and unyielding. With every second that passed, the world outside felt more distant, even as my pulse raced for the children waiting for me at home. "Just think about it," he said, arms crossed, the sense of urgency seeping back into his voice. "Your children, they deserve better than this struggle." The image of Jake's curious eyes, once bright and playful, flickered through my thoughts, followed by Amelia, always so fiercely loyal to us both. I couldn't let them down, and yet I felt like I was teetering on a precarious ledge. What if helping Mr. Reed only complicated matters? My intuition clamored that I was making a mistake. "Everything I touch turns to ash," my own voice whispered back, heavy with despair. "I don't want to drag them into a mess." Then, as if sensing my turmoil, Mr. Reed stepped closer, the warmth of his presence radiating reassurance. "You're not alone in this. I'm not asking you to abandon your responsibilities. We have the chance to change the narrative, a collaboration." Mark cleared his throat, the urgency flashing in his eyes again. "We need to go soon. Time is not on our side." "Fine," I said, the word hanging in the air like a fragile truce. but I need to check on my children first. I felt my resolve strengthen, bolstered by the impending decision looming over me. I can't leave until I know he is okay. Of course, Mr. Reed replied quickly. Let us make that happen. The real stakes pressed against the fabric of our conversation as we stepped out of the office and into the bustling city. The vibrant street felt like a stark contrast to the turmoil eating at my insides. With every step I took, my mind raced with possibilities and fears. The thought of Jake and Amelia finding solace among the chaos felt both impossible and necessary. Where do you live? Mr. Reed asked as we maneuvered through the throngs of people around us. Just a few blocks away, I replied, though it felt like miles to me. But I'm still not sure how I'll get through to them. Listen, he said, his hand brushing against my forearm, a gesture both friendly and intense. Children are resilient. They can sense tension, but they also feel love and support. You're their anchor. You just need to show them that you're still here. I don't want to let them down again, I confessed, a wave of vulnerability crashing against my careful facade. I feel so lost. For a moment, the world around us faded, and I saw a flicker of understanding in his gaze, an unspoken acknowledgement that perhaps we were both just trying to find our way in tumultuous waters. Let us face uncertainty together, he said, his tone softening. But I need you to stay strong for them and for us. As we arrived at my building, the front door creaked open, revealing the dimly lit hallway. It felt too quiet, eerily devoid of the life I expected to burst forth from within. A knot coiled tighter around my heart. Jake! I called, urgency lacing my voice, the echo reverberating against the walls. Nothing. Glimmers of fear sparked in my mind, threatening to ignite the anxious thoughts that had taken hold. I barged into our small apartment, praying for the sight of my children, but instead, I found only silence. The evening light slanted through the thin curtains, revealing toys scattered across the floor, a testament to their playful spirits that now felt alarmingly absent. Jake! Amelia! I cried out again, my voice trembling as panic rose like bile in my throat. Check the bedroom, Mr. Reed said quietly, his focus sharpening, as if attuned to the unspoken dread hanging in the air. I nodded, swallowing hard, and hurried down the narrow hallway. With each step, the weight of dread settled heavier on my chest until I finally reached their bedroom door. The sight that greeted me was both a relief and a new source of alarm. There sat Jake on the bed, burying his face in his knees, a map sprawled across the sheets, his favorite imaginary exploration turned into a personal retreat. Amelia stood nearby, her small arms wrapped around a stuffed bear, gaze fixed on her brother with a worried expression. "What's wrong?" I asked, my heart shattering at the sight of my son's sobs. The world outside of our home drifted to a hazy distance as I knelt beside him, feeling the heat radiate from his small frame. "I thought you weren't coming back." "I'm right here now." "I'm so sorry," I said, swallowing the lump in my throat. "What happened?" At that moment, the gravity of my new reality shifted again. I needed to be firm, not just for Jake and Amelia but also for myself. The looming decisions weighed on me like an anvil, tightening each breath. A wave of guilt washed over me, and it took every ounce of strength not to crumble in front of them. "I'm sorry I left you, but I promise I'll always come back." Suddenly my phone buzzed again, jarring me back into a state of alertness. Fumbling with the device, I saw a new message flash across the screen that turned my blood cold, churning everything I thought I knew. It was a picture, an image of a figure standing in a dark alley. The caption read, "You're being watched." A chill washed through me, scattering my resolve, as I looked down at Jake and Amelia, hiding the sudden unease swelling within. Their innocent faces were filled with concern, and in that moment, I knew that a dangerous path lay ahead. Trust was a precious thread, already fraying at the seams, and shadows of uncertainty loomed dangerously close. I had to shield my children from the storm on the horizon even while I stood on the brink of a battleground that could pull us all in. The stakes had never felt higher, yet I stood on the cusp of transformation, heart racing against the pull of possibilities. One hope flickering dimly among the swirling tempest, and I felt the world around us shift again as if, somehow, in that very moment, Fate was looking down upon us with an ever-watchful eye. Standing in the hallway, a whirlpool of emotions threatened to drown me. The sight of Jake slumped in defeat while Amelia clutched her bear overwhelmed me. I had left them for far too long, each moment stretching into an eternity filled with doubt and fear. As I knelt beside them, I felt Jake's small body trembling, and I couldn't shake off the knot of helplessness tightening around my heart. "I don't want to talk about it," he mumbled, his voice muffled. The heaviness in the room was palpable, punctuated only by the sound of my own labored breath. "Jake," I implored gently, "I need to know what you're feeling. It's okay to talk to me." The words felt inadequate, slipping through the cracks of desperation coursing through me. "I just thought you weren't coming back, like before." His voice was a delicate thread, wrapping itself around my heart and squeezing. I reached out, brushing my fingers through his tousled hair. "I'm here now." I tried to inject warmth into my voice despite the tremors beneath. "I promise I'm not going anywhere. Not again." Amelia stepped closer, nudging Jake with her shoulder. "Mommy doesn't leave like that," she said, her eyes wide and innocent, yet filled with an understanding beyond her years. It noted the pain of abandonment that shadowed our lives, a fact I wished to rewrite for them both. The warmth of their presence reminded me of what was most important. I drew in a deep breath, steadying myself against the rising tide of exhaustion and despair. "I know it's hard, but you two are my world. I've been worried about you both. I shouldn't have left you to face this alone. Can we go outside?" Jake piped up, his gaze turning hopeful, pulling me back from the precipice of melancholy threatening to swallow us whole. "Just for a bit? Maybe a walk?" I suggested, needing the fresh air to clear my mind. "We can talk more, maybe have ice cream?" "Yay!" Amelia exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious, cutting through the fog surrounding us. I joined them on the bed, and the three of us huddled together, sharing warmth and comfort beneath the soft glow of the setting sun. For a moment, the weight of our reality lifted, replaced by a flicker of hope, a small, glimmering spark that whispered of change. Outside, the world hummed with life, the streets alive as families strolled by with laughter and joy. As I walked, hand in hand with my children, the sunlight danced around us, illuminating their faces. Yet, amidst that cherished connection, I felt the weight of our unprecedented struggle lurking just beneath the surface. "What do you think will happen?" Jake asked as we turned a corner, stopping to watch a street performer playing a lively tune. I paused to gather my thoughts. "I hope things will get better," I replied, trying to hold on to the hopeful bubble expanding inside me. "We're facing something tough right now, but I promise to do everything I can to make things right." His eyes sparkled. "Maybe we can meet someone who can help," I chuckled softly, ruffling his hair. "You never know, buddy. Sometimes, help comes from unexpected places." Yet, the enormity of my earlier conversation with Mr. Reed shook me inside. Could I really allow someone to step in where I had struggled for so long? As we approached the park, I felt my phone buzz against my leg again. I hesitated, glancing at the screen to find another message waiting ominously. "Just stay close to me," I told my children, instantly drawn back into the shadows of uncertainty. I opened the message and studied the image. It was a close-up of a street sign, a place just 2 blocks from home, with a single line, "We know where you are." Cold dread crept through my veins, tightening around me like a vice. "What's wrong, Mommy?" Amelia asked, noticing my sudden stillness, her concern sharp and perceptive. "Nothing really," I lied, forcing a smile. "Just a reminder to keep our wits about us." Turning my attention back to the park, I watched as the children chased each other as shadows, their laughter intertwining with the music drifting through the air. Yet, the heart of our family was as fragile as the moment itself, hanging by the thinnest thread, ready to rip apart at any moment. I felt a sense of foreboding creep down my spine and knew the peace we had found was just an illusion. But could it be enough to keep our family afloat amid the chaos surrounding us? As I watched them play, feeling the weight of impending challenges loom closer, a shadow crossed my path across the sun-drenched grass. Turning, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure lurking nearby, someone who shouldn't have been there. Panic laced through me as I grabbed Jake and Amelia's hands, wishing I had more than just the sanctuary of our little moment to shield us. "Let us head back home," I said, my voice strained with urgency. "Now." Their protests were drowned out by the thundering of my heart, and as I led them away, I couldn't shake the foreboding sensation that we were slipping further into a dark tumult I could no longer control. What lay ahead was an uncharted wilderness filled with fear and uncertainty, but I was determined to navigate it, come what may. The stakes had risen, and the haunting reminder of my unseen observer solidified my resolve. Whatever trials awaited us in the coming days would test my spirit, but I had to protect my children from the gathering storm. And as the evening sun cast long shadows behind us, I held on tighter, knowing the real battle was just beginning. The night deepened, swallowing the park's joy in a slate of darkness that seeped through the streets. As we walked home, my thoughts spiraled, consumed by the familiar grips of fear. The street became a labyrinth of shadows, and every rustle of leaves or distant laughter sent chills racing through me. I tightened my grip on Jake and Amelia's hands, not just to guide them, but to anchor myself. Inside the safety of our home, the familiar silence settled around us. I flipped on the lights, providing a semblance of warmth, but the pulse of anxiety remained. Jacob and Amelia drifted toward the kitchen, their little voices echoing in the tiny space. I could hear them discussing flavor options as they rifled through the freezer, searching for something to quell the hunger that seemed to surge anew. The air was heavy with uncertainty when I caught a glimpse of my phone again. This time, the dread mingled with a sliver of anger. Who were these people terrorizing us? I couldn't let this linger, couldn't allow my children to feel the jagged edges of fear that came with a life wrapped in vigilance. Jake returned, a chocolate ice cream bar clutched in his hands, a smile breaking through the shadows around us. "Look, Mommy! I found chocolate!" he proclaimed, his eagerness a fragile light in the gathering gloom. "That's great, honey!" I forced a smile, but my heart remained heavy with the weight of my unease. Amelia perched next to him, with her own ice cream treat, eyes twinkling in a way that made me desperately wish for the chance to protect these moments. As they munched away, I excused myself to the laundry room, where I could hide away for just a moment longer. Standing in the dim light, I scoured through the bills piled high on the counter, each unopened envelope a reminder of the life I was trying to construct again. With trembling fingers, I placed my hand over my heart, attempting to soothe the rising panic. Suddenly, a soft knock came from the door so unlike the violent entrance of my fears that it startled me. "Mommy?" Jake's small voice drifted through the door, painting the air with innocence. "Are you okay?" My heart twisted at the thought that they could sense my turmoil. "I'm fine, sweetheart." "Just a second," I called, taking a deep breath to steady myself. When I opened the door, they stood there together, beaming with unfiltered joy. "We want to help," Amelia declared as they presented a cardboard box filled with craft supplies they had scavenged from the living room. "We can make art." The simplicity of their request struck me like a balm over my tumult. In that instant, it was as if my spirits rose ever so slightly amidst the chaotic storm brewing outside our walls. "Art sounds fantastic," I murmured, crouching down to meet their eager faces. "What's the plan?" Jake began animatedly describing his vision of a giant mural that showcased a dragon and a castle, while Amelia chimed in on the colors she wanted. Their enthusiasm flooded through the cracks in my heart, whispering sweet promises of normalcy. "Let's grab some paper and start drawing," I suggested, allowing the tension to melt away, at least for a moment. As we spread the supplies across the kitchen table, the air became lighter, each scribble a small rebellion against our circumstances. But tranquility is often fleeting. As we began to create, my phone buzzed again, a haunting reminder that our fragile haven was built on uncertain ground. I hesitated, caught in the pull between my desire for peace and the gnawing need to know what awaited us. Just as I reached for it, the doorbell rang again, this time, louder and more insistent. My heart raced, anxiety clawing its way back, twisting my gut as I turned back toward the door. "Stay here," I whispered to the kids, my voice steady despite the tremors beneath. I approached the door cautiously, peering through the peephole. My breath caught in my throat as I recognized the familiar figure standing there. It was Mr. Reed, the very man who had unsettled me with his unyielding gaze and unsettling questions just days before. What did he want now? My instincts screamed for me to ignore him, to retreat into the safety of our fortress. But curiosity and an unspoken dread pushed me to crack the door slightly. "Can I help you?" My voice wavered, blind uncertainty threading through my words. "Did you receive my message?" His expression was unreadable, eyes flicking past me into the darkness of our home. It hit me like a wave. Had he come to finish what he had started? My heart pounded as I steadied myself. "I don't think we need to discuss anything further," I stated firmly, though deep down, I felt like a child facing an unyielding sea. "Please, just hear me out," he urged, desperation surfacing in his voice. "I can help you." I hesitated, my heart torn between fear and a flicker of promise. I didn't want to rely on anyone, yet here was a man offering a lifeline, whether genuine or not. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice laced with wariness. "There's something you need to know about your situation." The air thickened with his revelation, a turning tide that threatened to pull me under. "I might be able to help with more than just words. I have resources, but you have to trust me." Trust? In a world where shadows lurk too close for comfort? But just then, the kids peeked over my shoulder, their innocent eyes wide with curiosity. "Mommy, who's that?" Jake asked, an unnerving edge of suspicion coloring his tone. I found myself swallowing hard, the weight of the choice at hand pressing down on me. The echoes of my fears clashed against the flicker of hope that had tried to take root during those moments of drawing, creating art as a family. As the door remained ajar, I felt the universe narrowing around me. Was this a traitorous offer or a golden opportunity tangled in mischief? One thing was clear: whatever awaited us in the dark, I had to be ready to confront it, for the sake of my children. "Just give me a moment," I murmured, closing my eyes as I fought against the tides of uncertainty threatening to drag us all back. I closed the door enough to create a barrier yet kept our fate hanging in the balance. In that pivotal moment, I understood my next step would either lead us towards salvation, or deeper into shadows I feared we might never escape. As the silence stretched and my heart raced, I prepared myself for the inevitable storm. Shadows were closing in, and the next revelation loomed closer than ever. The storm soon unfurled itself, roiling above us with dark clouds that threatened not just rain, but a torrent of uncertainty, spilling over the edges of my carefully constructed barriers. I felt as if I were standing on the precipice of a chasm, my heart echoing the distant thunder, but I could not abandon my children. They were the fragile lighthouses steering me through this raging tempest, and I was determined to keep the shores of their innocence intact. "Mommy?" Jake's voice was a soft caress against the weight of my thoughts. "Is he a good man?" The way he spoke, the implicit trust in those wide-eyed innocents, ripped through me. I could only hope that yes, perhaps Mr. Reed was. But I felt the gnarled grip of uncertainty tightened around me. I glanced back at the door, where the man stood waiting, his posture tense, yet seemingly sincere. I slowly opened the door wider, revealing Mr. Reed fully. The air between us throbbed with unasked questions and precarious choices. "What do you mean you can help?" I asked, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "I work with nonprofit organizations," he began, his voice smooth yet urgent. "I know what you're up against, and I've been trying to figure out a way to help without crossing any lines." He paused, drawing a breath as his gaze met mine. "I can help arrange food assistance, I can connect you with resources in the community. But I need your trust." There it was again, the word that felt like quicksand beneath me. Trust. Could I muster the courage to grasp onto something so fragile, especially from someone who had, until recently, made me feel vulnerable and trapped? I glanced back at Amelia and Jake, their faces lit with curiosity, untainted by the world's shadows. Suddenly, I felt the warmth of their hope pushing against the cold dread wrapping around my heart. "We're hungry, Mommy," Amelia piped up, a reminder that moved like jagged glass in my chest. I clenched my fists, glancing back at Mr. Reed. "What have you done to learn about us?" More than I'd like to admit, he replied, his honesty both refreshing and unnerving. I saw you at the park that evening. I heard the conversations and saw the worry etched on your face. I know what you're going through, believe me. The storm runners in me screamed to shut the door and create barriers. How could I let this man into our lives, especially when it felt like a risk that could tip our fragile balance into chaos? Yet, as I stared at him, determination flickering in the depths of his eyes, I sensed that he wasn't just offering help. He was offering insight, a glimpse of possibility. What if you're wrong? The words came out quietly, threaded with doubt. What if I'm right? He shot back, an intensity flaring in his voice. What if you and your children could have a little bit of that normalcy back? Just give me a chance to show you. In those seconds, my mind warred with itself, rallying against both hope and apprehension. My children, radiating with sweetness and puppy's innocence, became my compass guides through the murkiness of my indecision. Tomorrow, I said finally, the words slipping from my lips with an effort to steady myself. You can come back. Just you. His nodded response broke through the storm cloud of uncertainty hanging over us. Okay, he replied, his intense expression softening almost imperceptibly before he took a step back, allowing me to close the door. With a click, the way to this unknown future sealed itself, but relief washed over me only for a fleeting moment. The shadows still danced along the edges of my sanctuary. Jake and Amelia looked up at me with a mixing of expectation and concern. What's going to happen now? Amelia asked, her small voice a whispered breeze beneath the raging storm outside. I don't know, sweetheart, I said, forcing myself to shake off their fears. But we're going to try, okay? Just take it one day at a time. As they returned to their drawing, I moved back to the laundry room, where the silence echoed thicker than it had a moment ago. I sank onto the floor in the corner, pulling my knees to my chest, seeking the familiar comfort that had been my armor so many nights before. I scrolled through messages on my phone, each text and notification exploding with desperate pleas and offers of help that felt so far removed from my current reality. In that haze of anguish, a message caught my eye, a family member reaching out with frank questions and offers of support. But as I began typing back, the light flickered and I flinched at the unexpected jolt of darkness. I turned to the kitchen window, the rain now slashing against the glass in an onslaught of nature's fury. Somewhere far in the distance, a thunderclap struck jaggedly, echoing my rising dread, and then, a chilling knock shattered through the silence once more, reverberating in perfect rhythm with the tension in my chest. Mom? Jake's voice was a whisper now, a layer of trepidation layered atop the echoes of childhood cheer. Stay together, I urged urgently, my heart thudding as I stepped from the shadows. The last thing I needed was more uncertainty. The relentless pounding on the door seemed determined, almost demanding. I opened the door just an inch. My breath caught when I saw the figure on the other side. A woman clad in a rain-soaked trench coat stood there, her eyes wide with a frantic look that sent a shiver racing through me. I need to talk to you about Mr. Reed, she gasped, as if she had traveled through the storm itself to deliver a warning. In that moment, the storm around us felt small and far off, the revelation looming like another wave ready to crash down. The air thickened with dread as I realized that the shadows murmured secrets I was not yet prepared to hear. The door creaked open wider, letting in the musty scent of rain-soaked earth mingled with fear and uncertainty. The woman in the trench coat looked harried, her eyes darting as if they could sense the perils lurking outside our sanctuary. I'm sorry to barge in like this, she panted, her hands twisting around the lapels of her coat, but it's about Mr. Reed. You need to know the truth. Every instinct in me screamed to slam the door and shield my children from any hint of danger, yet the urgency in her voice froze me in place. What do you mean? I managed to stammer, the fear curling low in my stomach. Her gaze shifted to Jake and Amelia, wide-eyed and innocent, still nestled under the safety of the kitchen table, oblivious to the storm outside. Please, just listen to me, she urged. This is not what it seems. I felt my heart race as I ushered her inside, glancing behind her in the darkened hallway to ensure no one else was coming. The door clicked shut, sealing us within the confines of our fragile space. my home a sanctuary that felt less secure with every passing moment. "Who are you?" I asked, casting a wary glance over my shoulder as she shuffled nervously inside the kitchen. "And how do you know him?" "I used to work with Mr. Reed," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "We were involved in the same charities, but he's in deeper than he lets on." Words hung heavy in the air, a ripple of doubt churning my stomach. "What do you mean?" "He's got connections, dangerous ones. And he may appear to want to help you, but you might just be another pawn in his game." Every archaic story of wickedness washed over my mind, warning me not to trust this stranger that had stumbled across our lives in ripe timing. But what choice did I have? I was in over my head, barely keeping my children afloat. Time seemed to stretch, almost stretching our realities to bring down the truth around me. "I don't understand." "He wants to help us," I protested, panic woven in my voice. "Help?" She scoffed bitterly, shaking her head. "No, Cassidy, he wants control, and he'll say anything to get it. You're not his first family. There have been others, and they fell into his web of lies." As her words sunk into me, doubt rose like bile in my throat. My mind spun with images of my encounter, his intense gaze, the honest offering of help that had sat heavy on my shoulders. Had I been a fool? "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, my voice low, uncertain. "What do you gain from it?" She faltered, glancing at my children, whose naivete was guarded fiercely but still palpable. "I've seen what happens when you become too entangled with him. I don't want that for you or your kids." In that moment, the walls felt like they were closing in around me. My choices felt like a minefield that threatened to explode at any misstep. "This could ruin everything we fought for," I whispered, suddenly feeling the room tilt beneath me. "Then don't trust him." "The kids are your priority," she replied, a hint of urgency sharpening her tone. "Stay away from him, and repeat history." I felt my world teetering on the cusp of despair. Could I trust her? Could I even trust the enigmatic figure I was drawn toward? As I wrestled with the gravity of it all, a profound shift settled within me. "Why can't the answers be simpler?" I murmured, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes as I glanced back at Jake and Amelia, watching their faces fill with wonder as they adorned sheets with vibrant colors, each stroke a defiance against their reality. Suddenly, the doorbell rang again, sharper this time. My heart leaped into my throat. "Mr. Reed?" The shadows crept ever closer, taut with menace. "Mommy, who is it?" Jake chirped, his small innocence a reflection of the pure light I was so desperately trying to protect. "Stay there," I commanded softly, turning to the woman in front of me, her eyes wide with alarm. "What do I do?" "Whatever you do, don't let him in." A thunderous bang rang as the knocking intensified, sending a jolt of fear through me. "Open up!" a voice boomed through the door. "I know you're in there." Panic surged, knotting my insides tightly. "No, stay back," I whispered to Jake and Amelia, then moving quickly to the door, my heart racing between fear and resolve. "Mr. Reed? Is that you?" I asked cautiously, summoning a facade of bravery amidst the chaos. "I need to talk to you, Cassidy." His voice rang out, unwavering but demanding. "I have a plan for us." "Please, stay away," I gently called back, the truth of her warning flooding through my thoughts, a maze I needed to navigate with care. "I can't." The thundering sound echoed again, but with a different edge mixed with frustration. An aggressor desperate to break through the fragile veil of protection surrounding my children. "Let me in, Cassidy," he insisted, the command sharp enough to send shivers down my spine. "I promise you'll wish you had." "And no," I stammered, preparing to retreat further from the door when the woman beside me grabbed my arm. "You need to move now. Get your children away." A resounding crash echoed, rattling the door as I felt feet pounding against the hardwood floors in the hallway. The world was shifting faster than I could comprehend, pulling at the edges of my sanity. "Kids!" I shouted, panic lifting me off the ground and propelling me toward the bedroom. "Run! We have to go!" I grabbed Jake and Amelia, their confusion giving way to clarity born from instinct. I sprinted back through the kitchen toward the rear entrance, my heart racing with the pounding crescendo of fear hammering at my back. "Don't you dare run from me!" The voice shattered through the air just as I burst through the kitchen entrance, sending me flying into the dimly lit alley behind the building. I clutched my kids tightly against me, fleeing toward the street as adrenaline pulsed through my veins. The shadows chased us, beckoning danger behind, but I was done running without assurance. "Mommy, what is happening?" Amelia cried, her tiny fingers gripping my hand as Jake stumbled alongside us, wide-eyed and terrified. "We'll be okay, I promise. Just hold tight," I replied, but my own courage was a fragile filament threatening to break. In that moment, the world faded behind us, and ahead loomed two paths. One was the uncertainty of the dark alley, while the other was bright, promised safety and clarity. Still, it was a choice I needed to make, and I had to summon the courage to reach across the bridge that would allow us to step toward a brighter tomorrow, woven through sacrifice and courage. The hairs on the back of my neck bristled. "I will protect you!" I shouted into the night, the defiance roaring within me like a raging storm, piercing through the dangers that lurked just behind. I turned to the street ahead, racing to the edge of that promise, leaping with hope toward freedom, the lighter grid of trust woven firmly into the fabric of my heart. But I would never run toward shadows again without a light to guide me and safety to embrace. And then, as we charged forward, I glanced back, torn between remembrance and anticipation of a chance to forge a new path. Whether to confront or surrender remained the tighter banter of choice clashing inside. With each step taking us closer to survival, I felt my heart thunder as my convictions swelled forward. Our family's story was far from over. Every brush against adversity had forged our spirits anew. But beneath all the whirlwinds of chaos, one thought clung to me, solidifying into the very heart of my longing. Love blossomed even through the deepest shadows. "Let us go home," I breathed, as we turned the corner and charged into the pulsing heart of the night, uncertainty behind us, yet exhilarating hope looping around us like a beckoning embrace. In that moment, I understood. We were bound not just by blood but by the unyielding will to fight against the darkness, reclaiming the light that would guide our way forward. And no matter how twisted the path might become, love would be our compass, unwavering. As we faced the trials looming on the horizon together, a family reborn amidst the echoes of heartbreak and laughter still to come. Each heartbeat a whispered promise that we would rise again together.